Thank you very much, Higgsy. How do? Liverpool live. Rugby League time again this Saturday afternoon. And while we didn't have an insert last week due to certain somebody's foray towards Las Vegas, yeah, it wasn't me, but it was somebody else. But nonetheless, it was Vegas week last week, and what a weekend it was. And Super League, very much the flavour of the moment over there as well. Even though there was two NRL games, everybody came away talking about how good Wigan versus Warrington was. A big win for Wigan over Warrington, 48 points to 24. But what an experience last week in Vegas was, and I am sure we will be back there in 2026. And who knows, there may be more on the agenda, more clubs wanting to go, more supporters wanting to sample that atmosphere that Allegiant Stadium created. It was a landmark weekend for the game of rugby league in Sin City, and I hope everybody who went enjoyed it, and I'm sure there was plenty of them out there that did. It was a heck of a week, not just the game itself, but everybody lapping up the fanfare in Sin City on the strip and getting involved in all the activities that were put on by the NRL and by Super League last week. But of course, here in Super League, we have had already a big kick-off to the weekend. Thursday night saw Lee Leopards draw away at Hull FC. Now, any regular listener to our Rugby League discussions on Liverpool Live will realise that Hull FC, not exactly a favourite of mine over the years, but I've got to say, it's good to see a bit of fight back in the old dog, because I'll tell you now, they fought tooth and nail with Lee Leopards to secure a 22-all draw. Some controversial refereeing decisions, but I've got to say they fought hard for John Cartwright, did the black and whites, and came away with a deserved point. But what about Saints last night? To the other team from Hull Kingston Rovers going to the totally wicked stadium and beating Saints by 20 points to 10. Saints, are you worried? Should you be worried? Of course, you've won your opening 3 games against sides probably who, certainly in Castleford and Wakefield's stance, will probably be down near the bottom end of the table. Salford, of course, was the anomaly with the second team being played on that particular day by Salford. But now, all of a sudden, they're playing a decent team in Hull KR, and they have come up short. And unfortunately, the performance certainly didn't merit the win. Good performance by Hull KR on the opposite side of things, and they are now top of the Super League table. But does Paul Wellens find himself under pressure? Only time will tell in that regard. Of course, Saints have got the Challenge Cup to look forward to next week when they play Leeds, but there will be questions being asked of the Saints Supremo between now and then. Salford Red Devils, sadly, not being able to get over the line against Castleford despite pulling all their players together. There was strike action threatened, of course, with the players only receiving their pay on, I believe, Wednesday, leading up to the Friday game. So not the greatest of preparations for Salford, but Paul Rowley did say in the aftermath that he was proud of the way that the players fought for each other and turned up for each other on the day. So hopefully brighter times around the corner for Salford Red Devils. For Castleford, they are off and running, their first win of 2025, having been knocked out of the Challenge Cup by Championship Bradford. It is their first win in Super League at 4 attempts, and they're off the bottom of the table. Big game today, of course, in the south of France. Catalan taking on Leeds Rhinos. Another coach under pressure, Steve McNamara. He's 0 for 3 at the beginning of 2025. Can home turf advantage pay dividends for him against Leeds Rhinos, who have started okay under Brad Arthur? Not spectacular by any means, and of course, as we've just mentioned, they've got the Saints in the Challenge Cup next week, and we'll have one eye on that as well. But a big game in the south of France, and it should be an absolute cork. I'll tell you what, Super League is treating us to some unbelievable games so far. The closeness of the contest, the quality in which it's being played are quite spectacular early on in the early rounds. Normally it can be a little bit rusty, a little bit to in and fro, teams trying to find a pattern, trying to find a rhythm for themselves. Not so this season. We've had 4 rounds now, and each of those 4 rounds has been absolutely incredible. And another close one, I'm assuming, will be at the game against Catalan and Leeds this afternoon. 5:30 kickoff at the Stade Gilbert Brutus Stadium in the south of France in Perpignan. Tomorrow it will be Warrington and Wakefield, Wigan and Huddersfield's turn in Super League. Of course, those two are now back from Las Vegas and have both got 1 o'clock kickoffs to look forward to. Warrington will be red-hot favourites, you would have thought, against Wakefield, but again, how much is the travel and all the disruption of the Vegas trip taken out of them? We shall wait and see. Same for Wigan at home to Huddersfield. Of course, Huddersfield struggling at the bottom of Super League, looking for their first win of the campaign. Can they beat a Warriors side who were irresistible in Las Vegas last week, and only really a bit of a turn-off at the end really allowed Warrington any time of day at all. They were absolutely wonderful. So plenty of good Super League action still to come over this coming weekend. In the Championship, well, Widnes Vikings, haven't they made a great start to 2025? 2 out of 2 in the Championship sees them flying high in the table. Currently third place, level at the top with Halifax and Bradford Bulls. They have got a game this weekend when they take on Batley Bulldogs, looking for 3 out of 3. And with a derby in the Challenge Cup coming up at home to Warrington, it's halcyon days, isn't it, for Widnes, having struggled for a few seasons prior to probably last campaign. They're starting to get back on the wagon, and they're 100% so far. They're also in the quarterfinals of the 1895 Cup as well. So Alan Coleman doing a fantastic job at Widnes Vikings, and they take on Batley in West Yorkshire tomorrow. And what about next week? Well, plenty to look forward to. The Challenge Cup is back, and there will be some cracking ties. It's thrown up a great round of ties coming up. Hull KR versus Oldham. You'd think Hull KR red hot favourites, but Oldham, they've come out of League One as the champion club, and they've spent big. And I'm sure they will go up to Hull KR, who may not risk 1 or 2 of their bigger stars, and that could be a closer game than what a lot of people think. So check that one out next Friday at 8 o'clock. Salford Red Devils taking on the Bradford Bulls at the Salford Community Stadium. We all know the trouble that Salford have had. They lost to Castleford yesterday, and, well, the Bulls, they knocked Castleford out of the Cup. So is that a foregone conclusion at the Salford Community Stadium? For mine, that should be an absolute corker. And to finish the night off, well, Saints versus Leeds. They don't get too much bigger, do they, in terms of cup ties? Saints absolutely desperate for a trophy. Leeds likewise. They've both gone a number of years now without getting to a major showpiece, or indeed having silverware in the cabinet. They will both want the Challenge Cup to end that particular drought. A great game in store on Friday, Saints versus Leeds. And on Saturday, we've mentioned it, Widnes versus Warrington. What a derby game that promises to be. Again, Widnes, great start to the season. Warrington will be looking to bounce back from that Vegas defeat last week, but that should be an absolute corking tie. Real thunder tie, that one, at the Halton Stadium next Saturday. And it's a 5 o'clock kickoff. Wigan and Hull, that should be a good one. Hull, of course, have started better than what they did last term, and they will want to give one back to Wigan after they beat them in round 2 of Super League at the MKM Stadium. Catalan Featherstone, another game to finish the round on the Saturday. And then the Sunday, Huddersfield-Wakefield should be a good one, a close one expected there at the John Smiths. And Lee, you would think, would be red-hot favourites to get past Batley Bulldogs. Oh, it's all happening, isn't it? And I've not even mentioned the NRL. The NRL well and truly back, of course. They were centre stage in Las Vegas. Wins for the Panthers, wins for the Canberra Raiders as well. An absolutely superb way to start the NRL season. But of course, they will be back as well in their regular season rounds. Brisbane Broncos starting off the Australian leg of the NRL round 1 with a big win over Sydney Roosters. And of course, wins on Friday for Newcastle Knights over the Tigers. Sydney Rabbitohs, rather, I beg your pardon, getting one over the Dolphins in what could be classed as a bit of a shock. And wins today, an impressive one for Manly over North Queensland. And Canterbury over the St George Illawarra Dragons. Still a little bit to go off in regards to the NRL. Melbourne take on the Parramatta Eels tomorrow to complete the round. But Rugby League is booming again, isn't it? It's been a wonderful 10 minutes here on Liverpool Live. There's mega action to come in the Challenge Cup over the next weekend, as well as the NRL, as well as the Championship, as well as League One kicking off. Where are we all going to fit it in, Iggsy? I've no idea. But I tell you what, it's great to have it back, and I absolutely love it. The action's relentless. Catch it where you can. Liverpool Live Radio, of course, keeping you locked in to your Super League action here in Liverpool.